Hello guys, welcome to my studio, welcome to my channel, and welcome to this little tutorial. You know, this tutorial is kind of an extension of this tutorial where I showed you beads, but I didn't show you how to make snails. No, I did not. Snails. So I got some requests, as a matter of fact, quite a few. You know, I'm not like Mr. Beast. It's not going to be like you get thousands of requests. I got a few. And so I thought, well, okay, that's doable. Let's do some snails. And then I thought, because, hey, what are you going to do? I'll show you this. What are you going to do with your snails? Huh? So I thought, okay, I should actually show you something. So I decided to show you a ring. Yeah, like this. Using what I teach you in class about making snails. 2 different ways. Yeah. So anyway, that's this class. I hope you enjoy it. So let's get started. We got snails and rings to make. Okay, so what we're going to do is make a Skinner blend, turn it into a plug. Now, I wanted to show you this because this is typically the size of the plugs I make, right? About 1.5 inches. This is what we're going to be doing. See how short it is? It's as if I took this plug and just went, I made it like that tall. That's what we have to do. Okay. I like these beads because you just reach into your box of colored clay and you grab 2 that you want to Skinner blend. This is turquoise. My turquoise tends to be pretty blue, so this has probably a little green in it and white. This has more green in it and more white and a little bit of something else. Anyway, let me turn these into sheets. I'm going to Skinner blend them. We're going to make a plug. All right, here are my 2 sheets. Now, I'm just going to make a regular old 2-part Skinner blend. The way I do them is I take a corner and I pull it up to the other corner. Then I repeat on the other with the other color. Now I stack them together just like this. And I'm going to make 2 cuts, and those 2 cuts create a 90-degree angle. So here's one, and here's the second, and this is a 90-degree angle. Okay, separate, put them back together, not so they look like a kite. Make sure that what you're doing is putting together something that looks like a square or a rectangle, but not a kite. Okay. The corners don't meet. There's area here, which is this color, so that the blend will occur from here to here, and I will still have the original colors on the ends. First time I rolled it through, 2 colors touch the rollers. Not one, 2. Okay, so let's do it. Ta-da! Now, every time after, you're going to fold it the same way. Same color edge on same color edge. Like so. Fold on the rollers, roll through. Same color on same color. Fold on the rollers and roll through. You remember those few things and you will always make a nice Skinner blend. Okay, so let me continue. I don't know how many times it's going to take. Could take 10, could take 20. I'll try to remember to count. 15 times, and this is what I have, and I think this is fine. Now, let's make a plug. I'm going to roll the blend back on itself. See? Rolling the blend back on itself. Not here to here, not here to here, but this way. Yes. Yep. Okay. Making a plug is very simple. It is reverse reduction. You know, when you're reducing a can, you go oh, like that. Well, plugging is like out here and then it comes together. Like so. You can see that the center is getting chunky. Every now and then, stand it up, push the ends in, roll it down again. You can even do that. It's gonna push the ends in, like so. I'm squeezing and then I'm pinching the ends. Squeeze, pinch, squeeze, pinch. Sometimes you develop a waist in the middle. It doesn't seem to want to spread out in the middle. And if that happens, then what you want to do is just grip the ends, twist, and push. And just force it to do what you want it to do. You see? Not a problem. Let's go to the end again. It's getting shorter, getting shorter, which is what we want. I want it to be short, short. Okay. See how short it is now? Mm-hmm. All right. I think I'll stop here. That is a nice short plug. So now you know how to make a plug. Now the plug I showed you is what I used to make these guys, right? This, the blue waves beads, and now the snails. And I'm doing the snails because, well, somebody asked. Okay, so here we go. This time I'm going to be using this red to orange. I'm gonna throw gold in, and I'm going to throw black in. I need a cylinder of scrap clay. This cylinder measures, oh, I would say, oops, it's about an inch long, and the length is less than, I mean, an inch in diameter, excuse me. And this one happens to be about 2 inches long, although I'm gonna lose some because I can tell the center is kind of sucking in. All right, so let's get started. I'm just going to cut a piece off of my plug, and then this just simply gets flattened out. I should have cleaned this before. Yeah, I should have. You guys understand. All right, so I've just flattened it, but you know, whenever I use this, of course, it makes it wider too. That's really not what I want. I want to maintain the thinness, the narrowness in the width. I don't want it to get very wide like that. So if that happens to you, just take your fingers and just push it back. Push the clay around until it does what you want it to, right? Okay. Hi, Ditto. My cat Ditto came to say hello. Yeah, he's a good boy. Ditto. Kitty, kitty, kitty. Kitty, kitty. Okay, so let's roll this through the Epoxy machine. I'm gonna roll it through a medium setting first. Let's try setting number 2. My atlas starts at 0, but I've really I've thinned it to the point where I don't have to go through 0 and then 1 and go directly to 2. Okay, so there we go. Boom, boom. I'm gonna make it even thinner. Now, this is, I can go thinner because I'm gonna put it on this scrap, but I don't believe the scrap is gonna show through. So let's go through 3, and I think that's gonna be fine. 3. I might need to roll more or cut more off of my plug, but this is fine. Okay, let me just trim the jagged edge away from both sides. I'm gonna sneeze. Excuse me. Excuse me. Yeah, well, you know, when you're watching one of my classes, anything could happen. Anything. Anything. All right. Ta-ta, number 1. Okay, I'm gonna roll this through the same setting. Setting number 3. And now I'm going to cut a thin strip. A thin strip. And this thin strip will go against the orange, like so. Now I'm going to cut a very thin black strip, and I think I'm going to make the black even thinner than the gold. Once again, this has to be rolled through setting number 3. Let's give this a go. And here, see, I've made this quite thin, quite a bit thinner. And that will be pressed right up against that gold. All right, there we go. Okay, let's try this again. Another strip like this. The red is touching the black, and I'm going to repeat the process. A thin strip of gold, and then a thin strip of black, an even thinner strip of black. Okay. All right. So now that you know what the process is and what the order of the colors are, I will finish it. You guys don't need to watch the whole process because it really is just a duplication of what I have done thus far. So let me finish covering. We'll see. I'm not sure how this is going to match up. It could be an absolutely perfect matchup. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? So we'll see when we get there. I'll be back. All right, so I put 4 on, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I still have a bit of a space here. So let's first straighten this out. And I believe in the bead class, I took you through the shriver, how to make it fit perfectly, which is pretty much brilliant. I mean, that's just a brilliant solution to a problem, making something fit perfectly. Now here, the space is going to be so tiny, I'm just going to have to think about whether I want to do the shriver, which is to cut, and I might as well go ahead and do it. Okay, so you can see there's a gap. It's quite a small gap, but it is definitely a gap. So I'm going to take my blade, and you're going to want to use a thick clay blade, and see how I'm running it right along that the edge of the orange, the red, like that. And I just kind of worked my blade. I went like this to the center. And now, got a little extra clay there. I will repeat the process, only this time my wedge is positioned right next to the black. And I'll walk the blade in. And then you're going to take something like a needle and remove that wedge, okay? Just remove it. I seem to have to cut again, and this time I'll just cut like this. Do whatever you have to do to free up that wedge. And it is just the tiniest bit of clay that I've removed, but nonetheless now when I squeeze like so, I've eliminated the gap. Okay, and that was taught to me by Sarah Schreiber. Pretty darn brilliant, I would say. All right, now I have a perfect fit. So let's just roll to join everything up, and then I'll be back because now we get to start twisting. Okay, so some people are very sort of antiseptic in their work, very clean, neat. I wish I were one of those people. I am not. There is fur. There is schmutz. I was always a sloppy child. Yeah, I was. And, as an adult, kind of that has continued. If you were to come here and look at my studio, you'd be like, whoa. Whoa. Yeah, you would. But it's something, I'm not that young anymore. It's not going to change. All right. So I've learned to live with it. And there will be times like that where I have to take my blade and I have to just go around and cut away little tiny bits of schmutz. It's okay. All right. Now, ta-da! We're not done yet. We have to twist it. So I could twist it like this. But that's a little too slow. Also, it's way thicker than I want this to be. My snail is not going to be this thick. If I took this whole piece and turned it into a snail, it'd be like that. Maybe not exactly, maybe like that. But it would be big. So I'm just going to kind of roll it, thin it. It's not going to be 1 inch in diameter, just thin. If I go like this and just roll in one direction, see what happens? It just twists. It twists. And it twists some more. Yep. But usually at the ends, I have to like twist like that at the end anyway, because it doesn't twist as much as the middle. And then you can do that too. Hold one end and twist. Hold one end and push the other end. Hold one end, push the other end. Meow. You just do whatever. I picked up a piece of gold. I will do my best to conceal that gold inside. Okay. I like this one. Of course, these are my colors. They're my colors. More than blue, I like this. Red and orange and gold and I do. Okay, so we're gonna stop here. I'm going to clean my blade, and you know what? We're gonna make a bunch of snails. I'll be back. Okay, let us cut the end. There's a bit of a hole there, but for our purposes here, it's not going to make any difference. This now measures 5/8. So we were at 1 inch, now we're at 5/8. So let's just lop off a piece that's about 1 inch long. Lop. Set that aside. We have to close the end now, as we always do. And that's why that doesn't really make much difference here, because I'm going to be covering it up anyway, the way we usually do, which is to pull the pattern from the sides up and over the end. All right, yeah. There we go. Now I have to close this end too. Can't leave this one raw. Gotta be closed. So we're gonna do the same thing. Okay. Ta-da. All right, let's thin it and lengthen it a bit. So see, I'm making this kind of shape. I want to point at one end, and I want the other end to be chunkier. So I got skinny at one end, tapering to a point, and chunky at the other. Chunkity chunk. Kind of like that. Now it's just a matter of forming a shell shape. So you're going to start at the tip and you're going to coax it over. See, clay likes to stay the way you put it. Now, in other words, this is a straight form. What I'm going to be doing is taking that tip and curling it over like that. And this clay doesn't want to do that. It wants to stay just like this. It does. And so when you do something like this, you have to encourage your clay to move. And you encourage it by doing things like this. You start the tip. You just kind of work it over, like so. See? Now, I want that tip to go slightly onto the snail as I'm rolling it around. I don't really want it flat. Okay, that's not wrong. If you just want to do it flat like a nautilus, absolutely, go for it. If you want to do that, then you wouldn't take the tip and try to encourage it to sit on top of the rest of the snake. You would take the tip and you would push it down so that when you roll, it's like at the very center, and the piece tends to be flatter. It isn't wrong, it's just a preference. Okay, so here we go. I'm still encouraging it, saying, please, you will do this for me. And indeed, it is. Now, what can happen with these snails is that through the curing process, if you pop this in the oven like really soon with inadequate coaxing, like the kind of, oh, yes, thank you very much. You're moving, you're moving, you're moving. Thank you, I appreciate it. If you don't give it enough time, sometimes the end opens up. Because in many ways, this snail is like a spring. Remember, the clay wanted to stay straight. I have just made it curl and curve. So in some respects, it's like a spring. It's like a spring that just wants to go, it wants to go straight again. So it's never a bad idea to let these things sit for a few minutes. Okay, just let it settle into its new self. I think none of us like change, radical, quick change. It's not the easiest thing to handle. And clay is in some ways the same. So now we have a snail. All right, so the next way I'm going to show you how to make a snail is going to require that I thicken this up again. So I'm going to kind of untwist it a bit and push it to make it thicker. I should have done it when it was 1 inch. Oops. Oopsie. Yeah, maybe it's just nice to know you can do this. Right? Just gonna make it chunky again. I made it skinny, now I'm gonna make it chunky again. Why not? Okay, how much chunkier did I make it? Chunky, chunky. Oh, it's almost 1 inch. Woohoo! Well, that's good. Okay, now I'm going to cut a piece. Oh, let's make it 1.5 inches long. Should I make it 1.5 inches? I'm going to go for it, 1.5 inches. So it's 1 inch by 1.5 inches with this piece left over. Okay, now we have to close the ends once again. Da, 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 da. Da, da, da. Let's close the other end as well. Okay. Boom. Now I'm going to thin it out. If you want it more twisty, just manually twist it. Okay. Like so. I did. He's such a good cat. He's jet black with gold eyes. Hi, Kato. It's Mommy's baby. He's a little shy. Okay. Now, if I were to roll this up, I would have quite a large snake, wouldn't I? Not right or wrong, but it'd be big. Okay, so see, there's the biggest flaw in the whole thing. That's a flaw too, but it's not as bad as that one. So I am going to put that flaw straight up. I'm taking my blade, I'm going to cut it in half. So this one, tapering form, becomes 2 snails. All right. Now, is that, I can't really see it, I'm just cutting. Okay, so you use that paper cutting motion where this end is fixed, and then you guide it down. That's pretty good. All right, so let me take this side and just kind of push the edges in like that. So I'm actually rounding it just a bit. Okay, less so at the chonky end, more so at the tip. Like so. And now from this tip, I'm going to start coaxing. You can, you can, you can, you can. Like that. Okay. Oh. And then the process is just constantly trying to get this edge onto the rest of the form. Like so. I have fur here. Would not be the first time. Okay, so now I'm just kind of trying to work it like that. Okay, now that is not good. That has to be adjusted. So if you see any of the scrap clay underneath, just do what I just did. Kind of pick it up and push it back into place so the scrap clay underneath does not show. Okay. So here is the second way of making a snail form. This is full all the way around. This one is half. Now, I do it both ways. I'm not exactly sure why, because I don't know if there's a significant difference in them. I mean, they definitely don't look exactly the same, but I wasn't trying to make them exactly the same, so I can't tell you that they would ever be, that there's a significant difference. This one is not going to be lighter because I'm going to fill that with scrap clay. This one, you need less scrap clay in the bottom of this form, don't you? Okay, so I will pop these in the oven. Okay, peeps, let's move on. All right, now, these I cured, but I forgot to shoot part. So let me show you about this kind of detailing and what it is, okay? It's simple, done it before. This is thin black clay, and then I take my acrylic paint and I use a tubed acrylic paint, iridescent rich gold by Liquitex. Let me grab that too. It's my favorite. It's my favorite. And, you know, I did get a question, why do you do it on black instead of on gold? And the truth of the matter is that gold really shows up more when I do it on black than when I do it on gold clay. I think it's a contrast thing. And because the paint itself is not opaque, the paint is translucent, so you're going to see that base color, and you keep building up the layers, but somehow that base black just enhances the brightness of the metallic. I don't know, you'll have to try it yourself and see if you agree with my assessment. Anyway, that's what's on here. So let's just use this. I'll show you on this guy. Now, this guy before we move on. That's just a snake that I extruded through my clay gun. So I took the smallest screen and I loaded it up and I extruded it. And then I took one strand and wrapped it around. But we're going to do this on this little guy. Okay, the first thing I have to do is cut a long tapering piece like so. See, so it's pointed at one end and then it gets wider. Okay, a little bit of liquid clay. Like so. And see, I put in kind of an excessive amount, but you know the liquid clay, after it's cured, it actually cures clear. You don't even really see it. But it improves the bond between this piece of raw clay and this piece of cured clay. It's kind of important. So I'm just going to put it right here. You can see how thin this black clay is. I think I rolled it through either 5 or 6. In my atlas starts at 0. Now I'm just going to guide it around just like that. And take it over all the way, and there's a slight gap there. Sometimes that happens. And now I will cut the excess away. Just like so. Now, if you have to improve, the positioning of the tip, then all you have to do is take a tool like this needle, kind of noodle it around into position, like so. Okay, so there it is, and I like it very much because it better defines the shape of the shell. Okay, so this will go in the oven. Okay, let's set this aside. Now, when you do these shells, the way you wrap the shell itself will give you a high elevation or a low elevation. For instance, these two pieces. Let's turn them on their sides, and you can see how one is just taller than the other. Okay? And that's just because of the way I held and wrapped. So you do a few and you'll figure out how that happens. Now the flatter shape is this flat one like this. I think that this is a perfect pendant kind of thing, right? Because you will make your finding and then you string it, and it doesn't want to like flip over, or because the center of gravity is low. This, however, is so much taller that if I were to make a pendant, I would have to be very careful about where the weight is, because the heaviest part is going to want to pull. Okay, that'll happen. That's usually why I tend to make rings out of them. The tall ones become rings and the short ones become pendants. That's just me. Okay. All right. So this will go in the oven, and then when we're back, we'll make a little ring. So I decided to just make a ring out of one of these. Okay. Let's take this guy. I like this guy. Okay. Now, you can see there's a space under here. Now, when the other piece that's in the oven right now, it would have a space as well, but it certainly is not as deep or as big as this space when you make your spirals out of halves. First thing we have to do is actually fill this space. So I'm going to take liquid clay, apply a light coat, take some scrap clay, and just push it right down in there. Now this is way too much clay. Yeah, it is. It's just way too much, but that's not a problem. And just cut it away, work it in. like so. Okay. Like that. That's pretty good, I think. Now I'm going to take gold, this gold, and let's roll it through like setting number 1. Squeak, 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 a squeak. All right. Now let's examine the size that we're going to need. And I think it's going to be quite small. You see, no, that's way too big. That's way too big. So let me check out my other supply of round cutters. Just round ones. Because I have quite a selection of round cutters. Okay, this is a better size, you see. Let's cut one of those. Just in case I'm wrong about that. This is exactly the size, which is a bit too big. Yeah, I know, it doesn't seem like that makes sense, right? But it does, because what I'm going to do with this that is a bit too small is I'm going to start pulling it out like so. Like this. So I'm thinning the edge a bit. Going to position it right there in the middle. And now I'm going to try to pull the edge like so. You see? Just pull the edge over. Like so. Just pull it right over that scrap clay. Just like that. And you could, of course, use the piece that is the exact size. You would just have more clay on the bottom there. And, you know, that's kind of up to you. It might be what you want. I would say try both ways and decide. I like this. I prefer this. As a finish. And it's quite easy to move the clay from the middle to the perimeter. You just kind of stroke it and push like that, and it will come along. Okay, that looks good. All right, now I'm going to texture it with my with my dual plex. This is dual plex refrigerator liner, which is quite a nice sponge pattern, I think. Not very expensive. You'll get 4 gigantic sheets of it. I may even try some in my fridgie, but probably not. If I put it in my studio, it tends to stay there. If it's in my kitchen, it tends to migrate to my studio. Yeah. My studio is a great big empty hole that I fill stuff with. Okay. Now I'm going to take a needle, because what I want to do is I want to give some pilot holes. Just holes for my drill after it's cured to follow. Okay? Now when we're making rings like this, we don't want to drill holes straight up and down like so. We don't want to drill them out like this, because the cord will follow that path. Okay, so if it's straight up and down, the cord comes up, makes a sharp turn, comes back in. That is a little more difficult to put on. You have to squeeze your finger through this very tight, thin loop. If, however, you go too far the other way, so that your needle is sticking out sideways like this, then the cord goes out, then it will flatten, then it comes back in the same way. And that is kind of also difficult to put on. So you want something in between, something maybe at a, let's say this is like perpendicular. My needle is perpendicular. You probably want something that's more like 45 degrees. Okay, now as to the spacing between the two holes, this I have found, I don't really measure it, kind of go by feel, but I think it tends to be about 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch is actually wide, let's just say 3/8 of an inch. Yeah, it's really closer to 3/8. Okay, once again, so I'm just gonna go like this, pierce in at about 45 degrees like that, turn it 3/8 of an inch spaced here, enter again at a 45 degree angle like so. All right, now I'm going to enlarge the holes a bit because it's kind of easier. Like so. Okay. Now this is cured, and when I come back, I will drill the holes. Okay, let me pop this in the oven. All right, so this is cured, and now it's time to drill it out. Now I have many drills. This is probably 1 millimeter, 2 millimeters, 3 millimeters, and this cord that I am going to use as a band is 3 millimeters. I am going to start with the 2 millimeter. I don't think I have to use the 1. Now let's just start drilling. Once the drill catches, it will pull itself through the pilot hole. Okay, so you don't really have to guide it very much once it catches. Every now and then, give it a little push, but basically it's going to do the work for you. You're just twisting. Okay, there's one hole. Now we have to do the other. Once it catches, just let it do the work. Da, da, da. Okay. Boom. Hole number 2. Now move to your next drill bit size. This is 3 millimeters, which is the same diameter as my rubber cord. For this particular kind of thing, like a snail like this, I really do like using this cord. Okay. In terms of the size, you could use 4 millimeters. You could even use 2 millimeter cord. Although, as you get into the larger diameters of cord, they tend to hold the ring in place better. For instance, I'll show you this. This is a ring we made in the classroom. So you can see that the cord is quite thick, but it twists and moves less because, excuse me, the cord itself is rather thick. So I would say use the thickest cord you have, and it will be the most stable. Okay. There we go. This is to this depth. This one is about the same depth. So how long should it be? Well, it's got to be twice that, right? Because that's what's in the hole. Then give yourself what you think is the amount that will be required to go around your finger. All right, so I'm going to estimate that it's there. I have no chart about this because it depends on how deep you drill. There are other factors. Now, that looks a bit thin to me. It will, of course, go on my ring finger, and the cord itself stretches a bit. But what if I want to wear it on this finger? It is going to be tighter. So I'm going to cut another length of cord and make it longer. Now, I don't know where this cord came from because it is hollow. I usually use solid. So I'm going to go get my solid cord. And this will be fine, like so. So let me get my solid cord. Yeah, for something like this, I like using solid cord as opposed to hollow. So I'll be back. All right, so here's my solid core. This is hollow core. Now, you could use either in a situation like this, but the thing about hollow cord is that it will bend much easier. See how it gets skinny at the bend? Yeah, well, it's hollow. You try that with solid core and it retains the roundness of the shape. So there are instances where definitely I do use hollow core, but in this case I prefer solid. So I'll go in like that, and it will be perfect for my pointy finger. Yeah, my pointy finger. All right, I'm gonna use CA glue. Let me get my CA glue. Okay, so I have this, and it is just simple super glue, Loctite super glue. This happened to come out of that. This is ultra gel, blah, blah, blah. And this, I think, is the better glue than this. This is just ordinary super glue, gel super glue, which would work as well for this, okay? I don't know how old this is. Is it solid in there? Let me check. Let me just check and see. Oh, no, it's not. Okay, let's use this one. It's going to be fine. Just going to put some in there. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. And quickly push it all the way down. You know, this is really, really good glue. This is the one that comes in that applicator. And if you don't act fast and you don't push it in fast, it will glue halfway in. Yeah. From experience, I can tell you that happens. Okay, so let's just glue this one in like that. Ta-ta, ta-ta-ta. Let me get rid of some of the excess. Oh, I just glued myself to my, oh, poop. I just glued myself to my towel. I'm a maniac. Come on, Kato. This super glue is quite good. Okay, so a bit of fuzz. I'll wash off the fuzz. All right, here we go. 1, 2, boom, 3. Ta-ta. I remember when super glue first came out and people did the strangest things like opening the tube with the tube in their mouth. It's just, I can't even imagine. I mean, I joke about super gluing my mouth shut like a diet, but I don't think I'd ever do it. Okay, so let's let this set. We have made a snail ring. Yeah. Now, if you want to learn how to make this fancy one, you got to join the classroom. Ta-da! Here we are at the end of class. Made a little snail ring. Sacrificed a bit of of my skin. I think I changed my fingerprint, actually. I had no idea this glue was going to grab me that fast, but holy moly. Holy moly. Anyway, so that's it. I hope that if you like the class, you will like, and if you're not a subscriber, you will subscribe, because I do post classes every week. And, okay, let me say it. I try to post classes every week. I might fall down every now and then. It could happen. Anyway, I appreciate your support. I appreciate you watching, and until we meet again, I'm Donna. Bye.